I know a lot of you guys out there have little or no hope for the future of this country or the future of this planet in general. And on one level, I can understand that feeling because I too think that the system as it is right now can't be fixed. It's far too corrupt, it's far too compromised to be turned around. It's kind of like a pimple on the tip of your nose that's just not going to ever feel right until it pops. In my last video, where I was addressing the issue of parenthood as a way of positively impacting the future of this country, Demcad made a comment, which to me I think represents the attitude of a lot of people in my generation. He said, the culture is already doomed. There's no way that intelligent, responsible people are going to reproduce more than the irresponsible idiots who are popping kids out like rabbits. And in one way, he's right. I mean, we're not going to be able to turn the tide and start reproducing more than the irresponsible people, the people who just do stuff without thinking. And clearly, we're not going to win numerically. Fortunately, though, numbers are not the only variable at play here. There's another factor that's much more powerful. Now, most people in this country, and I would say even in most of the planet, are what a lot of us have started to refer to as sheeple. They're basically kind of a mixture of sheep and people. They don't think for themselves. They generally follow the flow of the herd. If everybody's doing something, they want to be like everyone else, so they just follow. And honestly, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. You could write it up to human nature, you could write it up to the inertia of our culture. But in any case, the reality is that as long as the sheep will have their Taco Bell, their beer, their Sunday night football on American Idol, then they're just going to keep on keeping on, which is to say that they ain't going to do diddly squat. But that's okay, because those conditions which are lulling them into sleep aren't going to last forever. And when the hammer does fall, those sheep are going to be slapped in the face with reality. And they're going to either wake up or they're not going to make it. Now, there's a second class of people that I've alluded to a number of times in my videos. And these are the people who are really calling the shots right now, the people who are behind the scenes, people who are running our government, the people who've set us on the course that we're on right now. Now, the thing is, these people, as individuals, aren't very impressive human beings. They're not particularly strong. They're not particularly brave. They're not warriors. They're not warlords. And if you really look at the way they've been handling things, they're not even that smart. They're just a bunch of suit-wearing corporate schmucks, rich little brats that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Most of them have never completed a day of honest work in their lifetime. And yet, they've always gotten their way. And they still get their way. Now, you could think of these people like chihuahuas that present themselves like wolves. And they're herding the sheep in one direction. The thing is, these sheeple have very little to fear from these chihuahuas. There's very few real wolves out there. There's very few men or women who really are powerful and dangerous people who we should be afraid of. Now, fortunately, there's a third class of person. And these you could think of as the sheepdogs. These are the people who really think, who look at things in the broader perspective, and their goal is to work towards the common good. Even though they're not really sheep, even though they're not in the herd and they're not being steered by the flow, they want the sheep to be okay. They want to work towards the betterment of society. Now, these are probably the most rare type of humans. These are people like Martin Luther King Jr., like Ron Paul, like Gandhi, people who have a type of character that's willing to stand up and say what's true and to fight for what's true, no matter what the consequences to themselves. Now, these people, these sheepdogs, they might be rare, and there might be few and far between, but they can have a massive impact in their lifetime. I mean, you look at what Gandhi did. He was just one skinny little Indian man. He didn't have machine guns. He didn't have, a political position. He was just one little man. And yet he managed to get the British, the most powerful empire at that time, to leave India. He forced them to leave. And he did this by convincing the sheep to stop obeying the chihuahuas. The thing is, these people who are running this country and who are running this planet are nothing. They're just a bunch of little yapping lapdogs. They don't deserve our fear, and they certainly don't deserve our respect. And the sheepdogs don't need to outnumber the Chihuahuas. I mean, think about it. If you had 5 German Shepherds up against 20 Chihuahuas, who would you put your money on? Seriously. I think part of the problem is that we have people who really are sheepdogs who just aren't aware of their true power. What I'm saying is, a lot of you guys are Alaskan Huskies, like 200-pound dogs, and you're letting this Chihuahua push you around. But the thing is, I do have hope for this country, not as a political system, because I believe this political system is on its way out, but as a real nation, as a people, I see hope. Because I see this mentality shifting. I see it changing very, very quickly. And it may seem slow, when you look at it from our lifetime, the way that we see things going down. But from a historical perspective, this is a blink of an eye. We're watching a revolution happen right before our eyes. And from what I can tell, these Chihuahuas see the writing on the wall too. And they don't like it. The thing is about Chihuahuas, it's the only thing they got going for them is their bark. They know that if we stop listening to them, if we stop giving them credence, then they have nothing. Their only power comes from the obedience that we give them and the value that we attribute to their fiat currency, which is just paper. It's worthless. So in summation, basically what I'm saying here is we don't necessarily need to wake up all of the sheeple. And we don't need to worry about these little Chihuahuas that are running things. All we really need is a few more sheepdogs. Sheepdogs that aren't afraid of Chihuahuas.